Hey, everybody. It's Ed Emerson again, back here on Dem Talk America. We're going to be talking to Admiral Jim Loftus today, who's a good man, longtime friend, and political expert on many such things. I want to pitch a couple of things here real quick at the beginning. Thank you to Tiger Eye Design for sponsoring Dem Talk America, the podcast. When we're talking about optimism in America, we're talking Dem Talk America. I want to give you one small piece of Bureau of Labor statistics. Go check it again this month. Another 235,000 jobs added by the Biden administration. So what we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about with Jim today is whether or not Joe Biden can get reelected. There are many different constituent pieces in a big presidential election, not the least of which is the issues that the Trump campaign is bringing to the fore. Immigration, the border, Social Security, Ukraine, aid to Ukraine, and those sorts of things. And Jim, I want to start today by asking you: can Biden win this election? Does Biden have the wherewithal? I mean, we saw a pretty good speech the other night, but what's your take on winning this election? Is it winnable?
Yeah, I really think it is. I think it's winnable mostly because of the message selection by the other side. They've stumbled into, also you should add abortion to that list.
Oh, sure.
Yes, by mistake or design, if you're a little psychotic, they started talking about Social Security the other day, and Trump blatantly said, yeah, there should be cuts to Social Security, opening a huge opportunity for the administration. The president didn't waste any time filling that gap and saying he's clearly said he's security. He's talking about cuts to benefits that are active right now. This is a big gaffe for them, given that the more we're talking about, I think, Social Security and abortion, the worse it is for the Republicans, no doubt. Immigration was a live issue. It's a real issue. There's been 10 million illegal immigrants have entered the country in the last 4 years. It's a crisis. Everyone realizes it. There was an incredible bipartisan effort to address this, and a bill argued over. Both sides made concessions, and Trump said flat out, he went with the internal political message, which is, I don't want to see any solution to the border right now because I want to run on it and I want to have it as something that I can solve. I'm sure using the exact same deal that was negotiated with good faith members of Congress. So the Biden administration has every right in the world to say the border could have been closed 2 months ago, except that the Republicans blocked this for political reasons. It remains.
You're saying that legislation contained power for Biden to close the border?
Absolutely. On the grounds of an emergency, when the amount of people coming through had surged to a number, he can use that as a reason to say, stop, close the border. We are not prepared to deal with this mass influx. We need additional, particularly immigration judges. These are millions and millions of cases. Additional border control officers, without a doubt. ICE, immigration, naturalization. It's a huge effort that needs to happen. In the meantime, this is taxing, as everyone's seen, municipalities across the country by tens of millions of dollars. There was a solution that he would have signed. It was a fully negotiated solution. Trump from the outside said, kill that. I don't want this happening. Right. He didn't say that quietly. He said it flat out, and that's become part of this debate. So who wants to solve this?
What you're saying is we had a bill to fix it, and it was a
Republicans. It's important to stress. It wasn't.
Where's the bill? The bill is just on ice.
The bill is dead. The bill will not be brought forward, and there will not be a solution to this nightmare problem before this election. That's crazy. So the politics of that are pretty straightforward and blunt.
Right.
You can't say there wasn't a good faith effort. You can pretend that that the issue doesn't exist. You can stop talking about it, but then using it as a cudgel in the election is taken away. So this speaks to tactics and strategy on the Republican side, which is to say that it's a mess. Not to mention, on top of that, to change the channel and start talking about cuts to Social Security is crazy. We haven't even gotten to an issue that is foremost in Democratic and undecided voters' minds, which is women's rights to reproductive health. This is flat out an issue that is going to help decide this election. The vice president went for the first time to Planned Parenthood this week and made the case. That case is very strong. People who are very undecided about this election and not happy with the choices know where they stand on this issue. So that's my overview of those three issues. Yes, we're talking politics, and that's a political screen,
right?
But it's true. And I think it helps the positioning of the administration make the case for re-election.
Let me ask you a question. Let me go back to white suburban Republican women.
Yes.
The Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
sure.
Philadelphia.
And I want to extend that to hardcore undecided white women in those places.
Right.
Whether they're conservative or whatever.
Do you think choice is a cut issue? You think that cuts with those?
Yeah, I really do. I think it, without a doubt, it cuts across. The symbolic suburban Republican woman voter has been very, very clear about where they stand on this. Without a doubt, there's a segment that are Christian right who have a different view on abortion, but abortion is a majority issue. It's been settled for generations in this country. These guys decided to upend that consensus, and they're going to pay a political price for doing it. There's no doubt that there were gains. Those gains are strengthening the Republican base. They're not growing Republican voters or persuadable voters in this general election. I think they are, poorly positioned on that issue. And not to mention that their standard bearer keeps trumpeting that he did it. The smart people on their side don't want him talking about that. I always say, don't forget, campaigns come down to exploiting your opponent's morons and controlling your own morons. That's how politics works.
Enforcing discipline, right?
And you have to keep your morons in line. And that's people who want to talk about issues that don't help you make a case for, in this case, re-election.
I can think of one issue, and I think it's put us in a tough spot. As you know, the leading voice for Jewish America, Chuck Schumer, came out today and just hammered Netanyahu. I know you were in Israel for many years with the White House and with the ambassador there.
Yeah, with the State Department. I left the White House in '97 and went to Embassy Tel Aviv. One of my portfolios was really dealing with the American Jewish community, American Arab community, explaining the government's and administration's position on the peace process. I've never seen anything like this. I didn't imagine it was possible that the majority leader in the well of the Senate would directly call for the political defeat of the Prime Minister of Israel. I have to say, as somebody who does not speak for the State Department, the U.S. government, or this administration, that Bibi Netanyahu richly deserves it. He's been playing around in our politics, particularly on the Iran issue. I know that Senator Schumer had to sit on his hands and watch the Prime Minister of Israel attempt to change U.S. foreign policy on a vital question. It was the Iran deal. It was not perfect, but it was a lot better than the alternative. Netanyahu has a long history of pointedly killing the peace process. He succeeded in doing that. The argument, it goes way back before 1993 in the Middle East. It goes back to the founding of the state of Israel. Was what is the ultimate? How are you going to solve this problem? The Balfour Declaration in 1917 called for two states for two people. This is the solution. It's the only alternative to the nightmare that's happening now. People who were skeptical but ended up supporting the peace process knew it in 93 and 94 and 95 with the death of Rabin, that the alternative was unsustainable for the democratic future of the state of Israel. We are in that same dynamic now, and it's coming to a very pointed political head. It was astonishing to see the majority leader say that. I couldn't agree with him more.
I don't know if you had a chance to see President Biden just came out and got a question during some event. And I want to tell a side story, which is Jim and I have done 1,000 events with the President of the United States. And right at the beginning of the Q&A of that event, they'll ask any question, but where are you and what are you doing? They will immediately change the topic. Anyway, President Biden just a few moments ago took a question on Senator Schumer's statement. And I think he's laid out the White House position. He's with backing Mr. Schumer on the electoral riddance of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes, it's a very, very dicey political moment for Israel, without a doubt, as well. I think, look, we're the U.S. government, the U.S. military are ramping up a massive attempt at alleviating civilian suffering in Gaza right now. It's going to take a long time to get this done. It's going to be possibly 2 months. In the meantime, perhaps there's pressure for aid coming in overland through Green Line, Israel, or even through a relatively nearby port in Egypt. Let's see what happens. In the meantime, I think it's vitally important that the U.S. military do what it's very good at. Logistics over the shore is one aspect of that. The airdrops are as dangerous as we've seen.
Yeah.
People who know how to do this. We've seen this happen. I saw it happen in the Balkans, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. It's very hard to
ever meet Tim Connolly?
No.
Oh my gosh. He's I want to say he's a forward operations specialist for the lift. And he is there now, and he is highly critical of what's going on right now. The dropping them from airplanes and
look, that's a desperation move on one hand, without a doubt. And don't think the crews; those are C-130s, American air crews, and experts at dropping these things. What happens is, you drop 200 pallets and you have a fail rate of 3%. Those things hit the ground. They killed civilians who were desperate for aid. Right. It's heartbreaking to those crews. They're desperately trying to help people who really need it. And they're having to see that happen in front of them as well. It's, this is a dangerous operation to alleviate real suffering in Gaza right now. It's ongoing. They have to open up the space to do this better. It's very disconcerting and it's very risky, right? They're saying not one American boot on the ground in Gaza. Experts that do this logistics over the shore operations say that's going to be very, very difficult. So we'll see how it happens. The intent, obviously, is to open up a massive relief effort that is sustainable. World Central Kitchen is there now doing millions of meals. They need massive support as well. So that's Gaza. I know we spent a lot of time last time talking about it. It is heart-wrenching to anybody who's spent time there and in the region to see what's happening. And I think the administration's engaging correctly on this stuff. They understand the imperatives of the humanitarian disaster that's happening in front of our eyes.
It's interesting. You can put it in the Biden, okay, well done column, but maybe not the win column per se for right now.
Right.
We're going to put you on the spot here, Jim. Last thing for today is there a clear pathway for Biden to win this fall?
Yeah, I do think there is. I believe that we are essentially locked in at 47. Of course, you can say in tracking polls, the president is trending below that range in the low 40s. This is a tough year. The question is ultimately the last hardcore decided element. Where will they go? It's for a lot of a segment of voters in every election. Some of them are they hate the system and they want to see it dismantled. You have to make a case. That's a hard sell, but you have to say, look, dismantled in this case could be quite literal. The alternative is to continue to make progress on these issues and to stabilize the country and the world after these massive crises we're in. Not to mention Ukraine. We haven't spent any time talking about that. I think that's true. The last thing I did want to say is we were talking about Fannie Willis in this issue. As I see it, the judge has said, you can continue. This prosecutor she hired can't be part of it. I assume she's going to say thank you and let's go on. From my perspective, the overview on that is I think the worst solution to the Trump problem would be that an American court somehow intervened. This guy needs to lose in a free and fair election, whether he accepts that it was free and fair or not. Right. That's how he real damage to the American democracy. Not all of his fulminating and idiocy, but a precedent that says a court stepped in. This is very bad. Nobody, I think, on the Democratic side with a clear strategic head thinks that this is a good move. It's not. Courts are not being orchestrated by another branch of government. They are doing what they do, which is, I see somebody breaking the law, my job is to prosecute them.
Right.
Great. I don't want these cases to come before the election. I want this election to be fought straight up on the issues, on the future of the country. And I want to see Donald Trump, for a second time defeated. If I were a Republican, I'd be very worried about his longevity and impacts on 2028. But that's their goddamn problem, not ours.
As our friend General Weissman told us once, you want a close fight now.
Yeah, that's right. Grab him by the belt buckle.
You want to get in and mix it up. Yeah. I'm ready to mix it up.
Look, we're ready, right? That's the fact. We're going to a general election. I just always say general elections about put up your dukes, and they're going to come at you. They are. Don't forget it. The reason we all loved James Carville as our psychotic leader in '92 was he said his theory of a campaign is what his daddy told him, it's hard for somebody to hit you if you have your fist in their face. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
You're here, brother.
Thank you, Jim. Congrats to Cillian Murphy, by the way. I know he's watching.
Yeah, that's right.
We got a proud Irishman that won the Academy Award. Hats off.
Great actor.